Just repeat one thing. The mission of learning social studies and history to create a more informed citizenry to ensure democracy is more important than ever. And it was clear from all the various sessions. Our session is going to focus on social and emotional learning incorporated within social studies education. So let us begin. I'm Linda Gottfried. I'm president of Graffiti Wall and founder of Felix, which is a customizable methodology that engenders greater empathy through historical improv. As our tagline says, walk in their shoes so you can stand tall in your own. Felix uses historical improvisation to create first a comfortable distance from which students can explore sensitive topics such as vulnerability, abuse of power, and trauma. By walking into the shoes of historical characters, they gain a deeper understanding of the past and the intersectionality of today's complex societal issues. The methodology helps students feel connected to one another, as well as to humanity throughout time. By understanding how others from the past have dealt with similar issues, students feel more resilient and hopeful. And today we're going to demo the Felix methodology, but using just a portion of the latest module, which is called Building Resilience in Times of Crisis. It was designed and tested for students in grades 6 through 12. The full module meets many states' learning standards in social studies and language arts, as well as social emotional learning goals and benchmarks. We will use one of the session themes from Building Resilience to explore social justice, power, vulnerability, and trauma during times of crisis. But first, let me do some housekeeping. I'm assuming everyone's on Zoom. So try to get on standard mode or speaker mode and open the Zoom chat box because we will be interacting a lot of the interactivity we're going to be using via the chat box. Feel free to change your name. We did. You see that our names, we got, I'm the Pope Clement. You'll see me as Pope Clement the Sixth from the Black Plague. So feel free to do that. And since we have limited time, feel free to post questions in the chat box, put your email in there if you'd like, and we will respond afterwards. So today we will be joined by a few members of the development team. Sam, who you could see in the mustache, who I guess he had a mustache grown early in his life because he's only a high school student and a Felix alum. Marianne, an actor, and Nicole, a middle school social studies teacher, along with two of her incredible students, Logan and Maya, who are also Felix alums. Other members behind the curtain include more social studies teachers. We have language arts educators, other students, National Humanities Center, mental health professionals, historians, and ed tech people. Allow me to share a screen. I hope everybody can see that. 4 basic steps. And in broad strokes, they are build back knowledge, then it's historical improv, then the student goes through reflective response, and then you imagine yourself in the future. Sam is going to go into greater detail, and he will also give you a student's point of view. So Without further ado, we have Sam here as Rupert Blue, Surgeon General Rupert Blue from the 1918 flu. So take it away, Sam.
Hi, everyone. How are you all? Step 1, build background knowledge. The students are going to receive background information materials, which will include discussion questions, fact sheets, and character bios. The fact sheets will include primary sources, a glossary of terms, and comprehension questions that teachers can use to assess comprehension. Each fact sheet is accompanied by character bios of individuals who were alive around the historical time period discussed on the fact sheet. And this particular module includes the Black Plague, the 1918 flu, and the Taino epidemic. The character bios can provide us with insight into how others dealt with challenges in their times. We use the materials to understand how the time periods were and think about how the characters might respond to discussion questions. For step 2, historical improv. I'm sure you can see I have a costume. I am Rupert Blue. This is the super fun part of Felix. It's using improvisation that you can use to play with the characters and walk in their shoes. You can use anything in your home to make a costume for a character. And we are all going to take turns going on stage. And first we describe how we are similar to the character, and then we will respond to a discussion question in character, keep in mind their historical context. Everybody is going to participate. Characters are going to hold up response cards, such as absolutely, yes, and yeah. For step 3, reflective response, the person on stage responds to a discussion question as themselves. After learning about how others in the past respond to their challenging situations, it often helps you to reconsider your own perspectives. Afterwards, classmates will then hold up response cards as themselves to show their personal opinion. For step 4, imagine your future self. From the dramatic historical improvisation sessions and the discussions in and out of character, we are able to compare lives with characters from the past and feel more connected to history and to ourselves. For the final session, we completed a future self worksheet that helped us imagine our future. From then, we dramatize ourselves 30 years into the future. That's cool. There are also some rules of behavior. They will remind students to show respect from each other and make sure everyone has fun.
Okay. I pasted the rules of behavior in the chat box. Sam was saying they're basically saying be respectful. You know, you're allowed to be offended, but not purposely offend, and to have fun. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Dr. Blue. I appreciate it. So let's go behind the curtain of Felix. It's research-based. The specific methodology used by Felix was co-developed with my brother, Dr. Joseph Gottfried. He's a child psychiatrist and associate professor at the University of Colorado, along with some of his colleagues. When we were first developing Felix, Dr. Joey recognized the potential to help patients with communication challenges and provide a mechanism to practice social skills. Felix was iteratively tested by a team of mental health professionals, educators, and historians. His patients, they showed an improved ability to empathize and establish first-time friendship. In fact, one of the sessions I saw that it was amazing. They were 18 and 19-year-old guys who'd never had friends before, and to this day they're still friends, and that's pretty phenomenal. And also using Felix helped them increase their self-confidence. Historical improv eases students into discussing uncomfortable issues from multiple points of view. So you create that distance. Humanity always repeats repeats certain issues, so it's a great way to talk about things that are even current, problems. And then with Felix, they have the opportunity then to come back to the present day to talk about topics from their own perspective. surfacing sometimes personal struggles they may have resisted acknowledging to themselves or to others. As a result, participants' social emotional skills are richly enhanced, and these, can include self-expression, self-confidence, the ability to foster dialogue, personal reflection and growth, listening, and empathy. I'm going to share another screen in a second here. So as I was mentioning, there was a lot of research went behind this, the development of Felix methodology. And one particular study I thought was really important, and it's from the Journal of Cognition and Development. And what it said is basically that acting and not other forms of art, and my background is the arts. So this was really interesting to me that it's acting that leads to growth in both empathy and social cognitive skills that are crucial for everyday interactions, cooperation, and cultural learning. So after we used Felix in a clinical setting, it was then tested in the classroom, learning to view contemporary issues through a historical perspective, a historical lens. Help students develop critical thinking skills, cultural awareness, a greater understanding of broad issues, and a sense of being part of history. Classroom students reported that Felix was a powerful tool that helped them feel more connected to humanity, to their own emotions, and in greater control of their lives. In some, Felix offers a rare opportunity to practice skills. Practice. So they then can transfer them to their everyday life. So now, without without further ado, I am going to introduce Marianne Hardart. So, she's a producer, she's a writer, she's an actor, and a key member of the Felix team. She developed improv exercises that are used in our first class. These help both teachers and students warm up and feel more comfortable interacting with each other using historical improv. She will speak about the power of improvisation versus reenactments.
Thank you, Linda. An overview of sort of the difference between improvisation and reenactment. So improvisation allows students to ad lib, to explore a character deeply so that then they can have a conversation without a script. Whereas reenactments are generally scripted and have a prearranged plan for the scene or what the skit. And to improvise, students have to study up on their character and the time of history so that they can engage in a meaningful and fun conversation with a fellow student / character. Now, Felix, as Linda has also been talking about, and you're going to hear more about, is specifically designed to include individuals from diverse socioeconomic levels, ethnicities, ages, political affiliations, races, and religions. And we encourage students to pick someone as different from themselves as possible, different way of life, different beliefs, etc. And this combination of historical accuracy and freedom to play within character roles is one of the things that makes Felix most unique. We've demonstrated that historical improvisation not only encourages students to engage and empathize more with their character, but also with others, and not just in history, but today. Often exploring a character, their motivations, and how they dealt with challenges, students see more commonalities than they originally imagined. So now it's my privilege to introduce you to one of your colleagues, a fellow teacher, and Nicole Grindel, who's going to go into even more detail of how Felix works.
Thanks, Marianne. So I have been teaching experientially for 20 years, and Linda, I think, is about to post a quote into the chat box about experiential learning. And what I love about kids going through these types of experiences is it allows students to intellectually and emotionally engage with an idea, and thus they have a greater understanding and a greater empathy about the idea. So in my experience in using Felix, there's some things that I like to front load with students. The characters in the bios represent such a variety of identities, and one of our Felix norms is that you're allowed to be offended, but not to purposely offend. So I let students know that one of us has a misconception, I'll reach out. And we're in a community where we all grow from these types of experiences, both from embracing different perspectives and from seeing new perspectives. It's all part of our learning. So if a student wants to use this opportunity to explain their sensitivities, I'm more than happy to create the space for them to do that. But just because a character shares your race or your gender, ethnicity, or spiritual identity doesn't mean that you need to portray them or be that person or be a spokesperson for that group. So I saw, Marianne, you talk about primary sources, and I think Linda is going to share one of the primary sources from our 1918 flu. So at this point, as kids have already built their background, I often use the primary sources provided in Felix as a hook to get students engaged and talking with one another. So with middle school students like these guys, I ask them to notice and wonder. And kids will use the clues in the bios, so they've already read some of that background knowledge or some of their own prior experience to infer how a character would answer the discussion questions. I explain that an inference is a conclusion based on evidence and reasoning. It's making an educated guess to figure out what is not directly said, and in this case, to understand the point of view from the historical figure. So here we have a primary source from the 1918 flu, a photo of a barbershop. And so this is where I'm going to ask you to engage. As you start to notice and wonder about what's going on in this photo, I'm going to ask you to type some questions or noticings into the chat right now. So what details do you notice that might be significant? What's going on in there that you wonder about as you look close at the people in the background, the people in the foreground? Yeah, absolutely. Noticing that they're outside and not inside a shop. Yeah, they are socially distanced. And I tend to notice, I don't know, I've gotten my hair cut during this pandemic, and I noticed that the people getting in the chairs do not have masks on, where I did wear them. Yeah, not many are masked. Great, awesome, great noticings. And so this is one of those activities that just gets kids talking and thinking and get their sort of their head in the game that we're about to play. So Linda just posted the discussion questions in the chat, and those are going to be the focus for this work together. And you guys are now going to have an opportunity to experience the Felix methodology. I don't know, Marianne, if you had a chance to review the fact sheets and the bios that we uploaded to the platform. If you didn't, that's okay. But if you've selected a character, then this is what we're going to jump to now. And if you haven't selected a character, there are 4 characters to choose from. And the bios are filled with resources and greater depth to help you walk briefly in their shoes. So your choices, if you haven't picked yet, are Pope Clement, the Taino Queen Anna Kahuna, Sadie afraid of his horses, and the Plague Doctor. So everyone has an opportunity to participate. So please select your character and respond to the person on stage by typing in the chat box your character's name. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure that you're in speaker mode and just looking for who people are choosing. I see we've got Rat and we've got Clement. And sorry, there we go. Plague Doctor. I needed to scroll down. Right. And we've got a Rat over here. Sadie's over here. So when I taught this in remote learning, at this point, after kids chose their characters, I used breakout rooms, and kids moved into breakout rooms to talk about their character and to sort of rehearse the questions. And I felt like that was a great way to scaffold this understanding, this experience for different kids at different levels. So we're going to skip that part, and I'm going to jump right into the session theme and the getting into role. So our session theme is exploring social justice, power, vulnerability, and trauma. And the question that I'm going to ask Maya, who's about to transform into the rat, is that not everyone has the same set of resources. When times are scary, what resources do you have to overcome your own fear and anxiety, as well as that of people around you? So at this point, we're going to scoot a little bit. So Maya has the main stage here. And I'm going to ask everybody to turn away from the camera and sort of get your costume mode on, get sort of set, and leave yourself behind. And when you turn back around, you're turning back around in your character. So Marianne, you're going to become the plague doctor. I'm going to pretend send you this mask in case you don't have one. And the Pope turned back. Oh, look at the Pope. That's Rupert Blue. Great. So first, we'll have a student demonstrate the Felix process, and then I'll ask for a volunteer from the audience. After the dramatization, you'll respond in character to what you've heard from Maya by typing your role and your response into the chat window. So there's 6 ways to respond. And Linda's going to paste these options in the chat, but know that you also, I think Sam showed you that students would have cards for this to show it up, but you can say absolutely, yes, right, but, no way, or no opinion. So here we go. Maya, you're going to introduce your character and explain why you selected them, and then describe how you're similar to that character.
Okay, I'm Radis, and I picked the character because I thought it would be interesting to role play as not like as a different species. I don't know, I think it'd be funny. And then I think I'm similar to the character in the fact that I'm really big on community and strong relationships with others around me.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask Maya the discussion question, and I want to remind you folks in the audience to respond in character while she talks. Okay, so Radis, when times are scary, what resources do you have to overcome your fear and anxiety, as well as the fear and anxiety you feel coming off the people around you?
Mm-hmm. Well, one resource I have to overcome the fear and anxiety would probably be my family with millions of other rats in it. They're all very, very supportive towards me and who I am as a rat. And the way I handle the anxiety coming from everyone else, I tend to ignore them. I just, I'm a rat. It's not my problem. Not my issue. I've got my family. I've got a few scraps of food. I'm living the life.
All right, thank you. So now you respond. I see there's another rat absolutely agrees with you. The Pope has a little hesitation there. So now at this point, the students are all responding, and this allows me to check for student engagement, which was especially important when we were in remote learning. So now I'm going to say goodbye to the rat, and you're going to turn back around and shake out your rat. And I'm going to ask you the same question as Maya. So Maya, when times are scary, what resources do you have to overcome fear and anxiety?
So the resources that I have are the people around me who are willing to support me, my family, my classmates, my teachers, my coaches, the people I'm on like teams or in clubs with, but also like something that I use is just being able to create art or experience art, whether that's listening to music that are people like explaining their feelings, like emotional music, or just art that I use to express myself.
Great. Thank you, Maya. Now you, everybody out there in remote land, are going to respond now as themselves to Maya's response as themselves. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Sam. I can see that Marianne responded. So now I would bring each student up. And so now I ask for a volunteer, and I'm wondering, I can bring Logan up here, or Marianne, would you be interested in stepping up and being on stage with us? As I think you chose Plague Doctor.
I think Marianne Gunderson.
No, well, yes, yes.
Yeah.
I said sure. All right,
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, ready to do this?
Yeah, do you want me to go on video or just?
If you're comfortable doing that, that would be great.
Okay, I
Great.
can try. Yep.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, and you are the plague doctor.
Yeah.
So you
mean-
use your background knowledge about being a plague doctor.
Oh, gosh. Okay, it's
And
not
you can-
really strong, but I arrived at this conference very late, so I didn't do the background reading, but I have a little history background, so let me try to remember.
Oh, and that's okay. You're really just going to talk about, I mean, thinking about yourself as a plague doctor would have been a leader in the community, someone who believes strongly in what they do to help people, right? You are also making a lot of money at the
Right,
time.
right.
All right. So you got you put your plague doctor on. There.
Yes.
All right. So plague doctor, when not everyone has the same set of resources that you may have, but when times are scary, what resources do you have, financial, spiritual, political, that help you overcome your own fear and anxiety? Your job, I would imagine, incurs a lot of anxiety. And so what do you do, plague doctor, to help you overcome things?
Yes, well, we have a lot of tools and a lot of strategies for keeping people safe from all of the plague that's circulating in our community. And we have proven strategies that we share with everybody for a price. And, all they need to do is reach out and we can help.
Awesome. And this is the point that as a teacher now, I'd ask like follow-up questions to prompt kids depending on their response. So I might say something like, I noticed you said for a price. How does that it sounds like you're bringing home some money. How does that help ease some of your anxieties or fears? The fact that you have continued income coming in. Does that change things for you in the way that you provide to your community?
Well, yeah, it's just, I bring the income in for myself, and then I use that income to support other people in the community, the priests, the vendors, the merchants, all the Lord at the manor, other people in the community.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Doctor. Will everybody now in their role respond in the chat? So I'm sure that the Pope was really excited about you mentioning your support of the priests. And yep, I can see everybody responding here. Great. So will you shake off your plague doctor now? And ask you, Marianne, as an individual, what do you do when times are scary to help ease your own fears and anxiety?
Yeah, well, I think about this a lot. I've had a lot of trauma in my life, so I think about this a lot. And ever since I was a little girl, I think I've developed a lot of coping mechanisms and strategies for dealing with stress and anxiety. And since I was a little girl, I've really turned to animals a lot. I love animals, especially cats. and touching cats and smelling cats and having animals around really helps me. Gardening, having my hands in the earth, in the ground really helps me. Walking in the woods and breathing the fresh air and seeing the forest. Those are things that really help me with stress.
Awesome. Thank you. It sounds like you can fit in with all of us. You should have joined our team here. Thank you for, I know I put you on the spot there. Thank you.
That's okay.
Up and taking that risk. And I point that out with kids too. It totally is a risk for these guys to get up on stage, but they all do it. And when I was in remote learning, some needed to turn their camera off and some were able to put their camera on and some put costumes on. And so it was really, you know, kids were able to jump in where it worked for them at that moment. So, yeah, awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was the role play process. And we go through that with each kid. That process, like Linda said in the beginning, that repetitive nature of doing that in the Black Plague and for the 1918 flu and for the Taino epidemic. And then the last phase of this Felix methodology is the future self, right? And I'm going to slide over because we're going to bring Logan in now. This culminating module is where the past where the kids are able to connect the past and what they've learned in the past to their own personal futures. So it's called Telling Your Story, How We're Shaped by the Past. And students experience the power of storytelling and how understanding their history can be powerful and provide a sense of pride. Students fill out a future selves worksheet, and this uses the same format as the bios, so they're used to it at this point. And they're encouraged to rehearse their future selves with friends or family members. There is a whole point system and reward system through this whole process, and bonus points are given in this phase for costumes and props and backdrops. And in the final session, students participate as themselves 30 years in the future. Wow, you'll be such an old man then. And this sort of gives them the opportunity for resolution and sort of a final chance to give feedback on this whole, on their experience and the process of using Felix. So this is Logan, and Logan is going to tell us a little bit about how the dramatic improv gave him a deeper connection to history.
So obviously we had to first learn about the characters. And if you're learning about someone, you're going to get pretty in depth. The improvisation really helped build that bond to that time period in history. I felt like I was with Sadie, afraid of his horses, when she was experiencing the plague. After the first couple of steps when we were reflecting on our future selves, I felt like I knew people who had gone through plagues, epidemics, like we are going through ourselves. And that really helped build up my resilience to the one that we are going through now.
Thanks, Logan. So, and then this is the phase where I'm sure that as a teacher, you use exit tickets. And so in the different, because there are guiding questions and guiding themes, then I have students exit ticket at different sessions. And so I'm going to ask you to submit an exit ticket about one important thing that you learned today about one of the characters, about social justice or power or vulnerability or trauma, seeing if you can connect that to historical context or just something that you learned. Now, we only heard from the rat and you as the plague doctor, but no, in a full session, right? We hear from all of these characters. So one thing, just thinking about social justice, power, vulnerability, or trauma. And students would type in, and they're also, when I'm teaching this in remote, and I've got my list to award point systems here, And I think Sam's going to jump in here and talk about the point system and how the whole rewards piece works.
Yeah, I was thinking about the same one about the rat, about the community and the rat.
I thought that was pretty funny, right?
Yeah.
Who knew? Who knew a rat could actually have a heart and soul? Living in New York, I don't think that, you know, so.
All right, Sam, you want to talk about the points, the rewards program?
Yes, so the rewards program is very fun, and it, as with everything in the program, it encourages respectful participation. There's an easy way. There's an easy, simple chart that you can use for the point system, and points are given to individuals for their participation, such as dressing in costume or doing additional research on their character. There are bonus points for team collaboration, and collaboration is a very important part of Felix. Teachers and classes together can determine prizes if a certain amount of points are collected by the class as a whole. So the suggested prizes we've had were one class voted to give money to charity and another voted to have a class picnic. But they can only this can only happen if teachers and students get to a certain amount of points that they decide how many that would be. So specifically, if the teacher decides the class has to get up to 10 before choosing what they want there to do, that is how that would work.
Well, thank you, Sam. Yes, some of the prizes or the prizes that they selected were pretty interesting. It was like a discussion between the students and the teachers. It was great. So Maya, hi. Okay. I'm going to ask you a little bit about your experience using Felix. Okay, so when you used dramatic historical improv, you took into account the character's personal circumstances and historical context. After considering that historical context and cultures, as well as the character's personal motivations, you returned to today's world and thoughtfully answered the same discussion question from your own perspective. So I saw you walk into the shoes from a diverse set of characters and cultures and generations. You played the rat a few times now, which is pretty cool. You played a powerful pope. And also you wrote your own bio for a journalist, Jolene Frost, for the 1918 flu. So my question is, did walking into the shoes of others in history help? Did you experience issues similar to those the cast of characters experienced? And how has understanding the past, including your own history, helped you imagine your future and become more hopeful and resilient?
Walking into the shoes of other people in history really did help, especially since when I did this originally, it was in the middle of the pandemic, and kind of like a really bad time period. We were all online. So being able to walk in the shoes of other people and have this sense of relatability, that these people from like the past, you can slip into their shoes and see how they dealt with things and transfer it over to your real life. I didn't experience like a ton of similar issues, but like the 1918 flu, having to wear a mask all the time, like all of the pandemics, the ones that are in the modules, not being able to be around like loved ones as much as you would maybe like without putting them at risk. And I think understanding the past has helped me imagine my future more, and it has helped me become more hopeful and resilient because I have this sense that other people before me have lived through this already, and it gives me this sense of hope that I can do it too, and that they got through it and I will as well, and it just leaves this hope that I'll be all right since people in the past were able to do this. So.
That's great. And as I mentioned in the other times when we've spoken, is that I'm really proud and thrilled that you want to be a journalist, you know, in real life, that you want to give voice to people with voices small, maybe, or not listened to normally, and as well as more so-called luminary people. So bravo, bravo. If you want to see how other kids have imagined, I mean, some of Nicole's class, I created a video of some of the highlights, and actually Nicole is, I think Logan's in it, and Maya is in it. So if you want to see it, I'm gonna paste it into the chat box. If you have questions, we only have a couple of minutes. So if you ask some questions, we'll get back to you afterwards. It'll be more thoughtful. Oh, I'm sorry. Yep.
I do have questions if we have a minute, but I'll wait until we're ready for questions, unless you're ready now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, why don't we do that now? I'm gonna paste in
Excuse me, there's only 2 minutes left, so I
Yeah.
just wanted to put
Okay.
that up there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Marianne, do you want to do this off, you know?
Sure.
Off? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds
Yep.
great.
I think
right.
I think I have your email address where I can probably on the session information where I can email you. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going, let me, I'm gonna paste my email right here, so you can definitely reach out to me. And I also pasted in a really great article about that mental health needs, especially during this time, are so important in the schools, and how teachers are dealing with it, and how mental health professionals are helping with that effort. So I thought that was one of our team members, who's a psychologist, sent that to me actually yesterday afternoon. So hot off the press.
Someone needs to mute their screen.
Exactly typical.
Is anyone else hearing that?
Then update it.
Oh, sorry.
Then update it.
Oh, yeah, somebody I think is watching the video of the future self, and they were watching it.
Oh, I hope that wasn't me.
It doesn't matter. Oh, now we're having somebody come at the very last 20 seconds. All right, so we can take a bow. All right, well, I want to thank everybody, for joining in. Marianne Gunderson, thank you for participating as the plague doctor. And I want to thank also my team, amazing. You got Logan and Maya, Nicole, and another Marianne, and Sam is Dr. Blue. So, and so many other people behind the curtain too, but I just want to thank you all.